الحمد لله علي ذات عظيم الصفات سمي السمات كبير الشأن جليل القدر رفيع الذكر مطاع الأمر جليل البرهان فخيم الاسم غزيل العلم وسيل الحلم كثير الغفران جميل الثناء جزيل العطاء مجيب الدعاء عميم الإحسان سريع الحساب شديد العقاب أليم العذاب عزيز السلطان ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له في الخلق والأمر ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله المبعوث إلى الأسود والأحمر المنعوت بشرح الصدر ورفع الذكر وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين هم خلاصة العرب العرباء وخير الخلائق بعد الأنبياء أما بعد فيا أيها الناس وحدوا الله فإن التوحيد رأس الطاعات واتقوا الله فإن التقوى ملاك الحسنات وعليكم بالسنة فإن السنة تهدي إلى الطاعة ومن أطاع الله ورسوله فقد رشد واهتدى وإياكم والبدعة فإن البدعة تهدي إلى المعصية ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل وغوى وعليكم بالإحسان فإن الله يحب المحسنين وادعوه فإنه مجيب الداعين واستغفروه يمددكم بأموال وبنين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. The month of Ramadan, by the grace and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is upon us. And this is something that undoubtedly we've been talking about in the days leading up to today. For the last few weeks, if not the last month or so, we've had many conversations, probably here from this minbar and within our own homes, about the coming of the month of Ramadan. And the anticipation, the excitement, the preparation continues. However, what I wanted to speak about today was not so much in regards to some of the requirements or some of the obligations or the activities that we will engage in during the month of Ramadan. But what I wanted to address today, what I would like to speak about today, is the mindset and the attitude with which we enter into the month of Ramadan. And in order to capture the essence of the mindset, the spirit, the himmah that the month of Ramadan asks of us, that the month of Ramadan comes every year to revive within us, the essence of that is captured within the story of the very first Ramadan that was observed by this ummah, by our community of Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ, when he began his message and his mission of preaching and teaching Islam in Mecca, when he was 40 years old and he received revelation, which was in the month of Ramadan. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. At that time, the condition and the situation of the Muslim communities was such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mandate observing the month of Ramadan upon the Muslims at that time. Not until the Muslims migrated 13 years later from Mecca to Medina, where they were able to find peace and sanctuary. And they were able to build a community, having autonomy of their own community within the city of Medina. In the divine wisdom, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them 1 year's time to settle in and to organize a community. In the second year of Hijrah, the second year of their residence in the city of Medina, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verses from Surah Al-Baqarah that we are very familiar with today, ayahs 183 going forward, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. That, O you who believe, fasting has been mandated and prescribed for you as it was mandated and prescribed for the people before you, so that you may develop consciousness of God. You may develop taqwa. and become more conscious and aware of Allah and your relationship with Allah on a day-to-day basis. And that introduced Ramadan as we know it today, in the current structure as we know it, where it was a month of obligatory fasting, a month of fasting that would have to be observed, along with all the other elements of it. That same Ramadan, the very first Ramadan that was observed in its current form by this ummah, by the community of the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, there was a very interesting turn of events. About halfway through the month of Ramadan, the Muslims were faced with a very critical situation. The Meccans were continuing their efforts to raise an army, to build an army to attack the city of Medina and to eradicate the Muslims. Part of their efforts of building this army was that they had sent a caravan to go and invest the war funds and come back so that they would have the financial capacity to launch an all-out attack against Medina. When the Prophet ﷺ learned of this, he took action. And the Muslims, along with the Prophet ﷺ, under his leadership and guidance, they went outside of Medina to block this caravan and to seize this caravan. The caravan managed to escape the clutches of the Muslims. However, the word reached back to Mecca that we do not have the luxury of time, and we need to bring the army that we have now, we need to bring it now to fight the Muslims. And at this particular juncture, there was a very serious question that was asked of the fledgling young Muslim community at that time. Now, to understand the significance of this question, I'd like for us to go 2 years back, before the Battle of Badr. 2 years prior to this, the Muslims of Medina, where the community had steadily been growing, there were young companions of the Prophet ﷺ like Mus'ab bin Umayr, who had been there in Medina preaching Islam. Hundreds of people had accepted Islam. The Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims, the early Muslims, were still living in Mecca under the oppression of the Quraysh. They came at the time of Hajj. They met with the Prophet ﷺ and they presented a proposal. They made a proposal. Their proposal was, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of God ﷺ, we would like for you and the Muslims to leave Mecca and to migrate and come and join us in Medina. We are safe and sound in Medina. We have a community that we are establishing in Medina. And we will be able to provide you the relief and the safety and the sanctity that is necessary in order to spread this message. The Prophet ﷺ was very happy to receive this proposal. And he was inclined towards accepting it. But the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, who is not Muslim yet, Abbas, he would become Muslim later. But in spite of not being Muslim yet, he had exhausted all of his efforts to protect and to support the Prophet ﷺ. He came to that meeting. He imposed himself upon that meeting. And he addressed these young Muslims of Medina. And he said to them, you want to take my nephew, who you believe to be a prophet. You want to take him to your town. You want to take him to Medina. And you want him to bring the Muslims there. And you say from there you will build a Muslim community. But do you understand what that entails? Do you understand what that will mean? When you will take my nephew, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Abbas is saying, when you will take him to Medina, you will essentially be declaring war against the Quraysh. They will become your enemies, and they will come to fight you. Because they have made it the purpose of their existence to oppose him at any cost. And so they will not let you peacefully, comfortably take him there and build your community there. But they will come after you. And they said, yes, we understand that and we're willing to take on that risk. Abbas said, however, I am not satisfied with your answer. We need to have a written agreement. And at that time, Abbas, he initiated the agreement between the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims of Medina. Many of us, we don't know this, that there was an agreement between the Muslims, the Ansar of Medina, and the Prophet ﷺ. There was an agreement, there was a contract. What did that contract state? That agreement said that when you come to Medina, if someone, whether it be your enemy or our enemy, if anyone attacks the city of Medina, that will be our home together. We will all defend Medina together. Regardless of whether the person attacking is your enemy or our enemy. We will all fight together. But if we, the people of Medina, go outside of the city of Medina to fight our enemies, you, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Muslims of Mecca are not obligated to come and fight our enemies with us outside of Medina. And similarly, if you, Ya Rasulullah, go outside of Medina to fight the Quraysh, you and the Muslims of Mecca, the Muhajirun, the immigrants, go outside of Medina to, for instance, to fight the Quraysh, we, the Ansar, the Muslims of Medina, do not have to come with you. And that was an agreement. It doesn't sound like the Ansar that we know, but that's part of the story. But that was the agreement on paper that everyone agreed to on that night. That if someone attacks Medina, we all fight together. If someone goes outside of Medina, the other party does not have to go. Now they find themselves at the place of Badr, halfway through the month of Ramadan, the first Ramadan that they are observing, on the 17th of the month of Ramadan. They are outside the city of Medina. The place of Badr today, by road, by bus, is about 2 hours outside of Medina. At that time, it was about a 2 days worth of journey. It's a 2 days worth of journey. They left Medina on the 14th, they arrived there on the 16th. It's a 2 days worth of journey. It's outside of Medina. And the enemy across the battlefield is the Quraysh from Mecca. They are not the enemies of the people of Medina, they are the enemies of the Muhajirun, the Muslims of Mecca. The Prophet ﷺ addressed all the Muslims that were there at Badr. And we famously know that there were 313 of them. And he asked them a question. We came here to intercept a caravan. We did not come here to fight. I did not tell you when we were leaving Medina that we were going to be having a battle. I notified you that we were coming to intercept a caravan. It has now turned into a battle because an army of 1,000 strong has shown up across the field. So what was supposed to be a small excursion has now become a battle. What are you willing to do? What are your thoughts? What are you going to do? One of the leaders of the Ansar, one of the leaders of the Medinan community, Sa'd bin Mu'adh, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he stood up and he said, O Messenger of Allah, do I have permission to speak? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, of course. What would you like to say? And he said, O Messenger of Allah, we were lost. And you showed us the way. We had no purpose in life. And you helped us understand what our purpose in life is. We didn't know what to do with ourselves. And today we know exactly what we're supposed to do with our lives. We believed in you. We opened up our homes to you, our city to you, and we follow you. And we would continue to follow you to the ends of the earth. And if you walked to the end of the earth and dove into the ocean, we would dive in behind you. Because we didn't know what to do with ourselves before we met you. And now we know exactly what we're supposed to do. So we would go no matter where you took us. You could take us beyond this world and we would follow you. So we are here with you. We're not going anywhere. As far as whatever agreement was signed, was agreed to on paper, we hereby throw it away and toss it away. We are with you till the very end. The Prophet ﷺ, Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a young companion, he says that when Sa'ad bin Mu'adh radiallahu ta'ala anhu said this, the face of the Prophet ﷺ radiated. He smiled, this big beautiful smile, where it was more illuminating, more radiant, more beautiful than the full moon. And he was so proud, and he was so happy to hear Sa'ad say this. And the Prophet ﷺ said, then let it be. We will go into the battlefield with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know that there were 313 companions, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. But a lot of times what we don't know is how many of those 313 were muhajirun versus how many of those 313 were ansar. 240 out of the 313 were Medinan Muslims, were ansar. 240 of them. Most of them, almost 3/4 of them, were from the Ansar. They were people who did not even have to fight on that day. They were people who did not have to sacrifice on that day. They were people who did not have to stand in that battlefield. They were not obligated to. It was not fard on them. But they did it. Why did they do it? Because it was the right thing to do. Because it needed to be done. Because it was an opportunity to do some good. That's who the Sahaba were. That's who the Ansar were. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. And that's also part of the message of the month of Ramadan. That is the spirit of the month of Ramadan. Ramadan is not a time for us to inquire about what we have to do versus what we don't have to do. Ramadan is not a time that comes every year so that we engage in these fiqh riddles and detailed inquiries about whether something is mandatory or not. Ramadan, it is contrary to the spirit of the month of Ramadan to be more concerned with what we don't have to do versus what we must do. But rather, Ramadan is a time that comes every year to remind us, to show us, to teach us what we can do, what more we can do, what more we're capable of. And I would like to be a bit candid and frank for just a moment. I don't want to cross the line of being a guest and being on my best behavior, so to speak. But I would like to be frank and candid for my own sake. It is a very common theme in our communities today that whenever the month of Ramadan rolls around, that we start to have very detailed, nuanced, intricate conversations about what is required or not. I'll give you a few examples to illustrate. Is finishing the Quran mandatory during Ramadan or not? Or can you read just as much as you can read comfortably? Is Taraweeh actually mandatory or not? It's not. It's not. It's sunnah, brother. It's not mandatory. It's not fard. Don't make it fard. Do I have to fast? Or if my job is a little difficult, or the days are kind of long, or it's going to be kind of hot, or I got a little bit of a project going on this Ramadan that's challenging, do I have to fast or not? Do I have a concession or not? Can I just pay the fidya instead of fasting? Can I just pay a certain amount of charity instead of fasting? Is it mandatory to give your zakat during Ramadan or to give sadaqah during Ramadan, or is it not mandatory? You can give it anytime you want. These are the natures of this is the nature of a lot of the conversations that go on in our communities, within our homes, whenever the month of Ramadan is approaching. I have work, kids have school. Do we have to fast? Not have to fast? Deen yusr, deen is easy, it's comfortable, it's accommodating, Allah is merciful. And all of that is true. Allah is merciful. Our deen is easy. But that's besides the point. The point more so is that Ramadan is a time of spiritual development. Ramadan is a time to get spiritually in shape. That's like going to the gym, and then when your trainer is telling you, run on the treadmill for 20 minutes, is it mandatory or not? Then you shouldn't be at the gym. It defeats the purpose of being at the gym. It defeats the purpose of the month of Ramadan. For me, I'm not talking to anyone else, for me, to show up, to be given this gift of Ramadan, a free pass to the spiritual gym of Ramadan, and then to show up and then to start nitpicking about, well, what do I have to do or what do I not have to do? Do I have to do this? Is that really necessary? Is that absolutely obligatory? It goes against the spirit of the month of Ramadan. And that first Ramadan that our community of Muslims observed over 1400 years ago, the first Ramadan that was ever observed, Muslims in that Ramadan were presented with this question and this challenge. They had a situation in front of them that was not mandatory or obligatory. They not only did it, but they stood up and they willingly took the opportunity. And that is what led to them being the best of all mankind. That is what led to them being the best generation. خَيْرُ الْقُرُونِ قَبْنِي مُحَمَّدٌ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ. That's why God praised them. وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. That's why Allah was pleased with them. And those Ansar who did not entertain the question, they did not engage in the idea, they did not go back to the piece of paper and say, well, we don't have to be here if you don't want to. But they said, here is an opportunity for us to do some good. So we're going to take that opportunity. That is why the Prophet ﷺ, there are many, many narrations, I'll share one with you. That is why the Prophet ﷺ, one time he was sitting outside of the masjid. It was kind of a hot day. It was between the prayers. So the Prophet ﷺ was sitting right outside of the masjid trying to basically catch a breeze. And he was leaning against the wall of the masjid, sitting outside, watching people go by, walk back and forth, saying salam to people, smiling, looking at the ummah. And there was a group of women and children of the Ansar, families of the Ansar, who were coming back from a wedding. There was a wedding of the Ansar, and some of the women and children, the families had gone to the home to celebrate the wedding. They were returning back from there. There was a group of them. And the Prophet ﷺ saw them and recognized that these were some of the Ansar, the people of Medina. And because of the spirit that they had, always willing to do what needed to be done, always ready for any opportunity, jumping at any chance to do some good, that spirit that they had. The Prophet ﷺ, he stood up to greet them. He stood up and he said, Wallahi, I swear by Allah, La antum ashaddu nasi hubban ilayya. I love you people so much. I loved you so much. You are the most beloved of people to me. لولا الهجرة لكنت امرأ من الأنصار. Had it not been for hijrah, that I am from Mecca, I would have been from amongst the Ansar. I would have loved to be from you. And then he raised his hands up to the sky and he said, Allahumma aghfir al-Ansar. Oh Allah, forgive the Ansar. وَلِأَبْنَاءِ الْأَنصَارِ, and the children of the Ansar. وَلِأَبْنَاءِ أَبْنَاءِ الْأَنصَارِ, and the children of the Ansar. He made dua for them. Before the day before the Prophet ﷺ left this world, his last address to the Ummah, he said at that time, to the whole Ummah, and it is preserved in the books of Sirah and the books of Hadith. He said that, take care of my Ansar after I am gone. They are my family. He said, فَأَكْرِمُوا كَرِيمَهُمْ وَعَفُوا عَنْ مُسِيئِهِمْ. If they are good, be good to them. And if they ever do something bad, forgive them. But they took care of me. They are my people. What made them so special? And what makes this month of Ramadan so remarkable is this central idea that we grow during this Ramadan, where we no longer remain the kind of people who ask the question, do I have to do it or do I not have to do it? But we grow through this month of Ramadan to become the kind of people who say, who look, who ask, what more can I do? What more is there available for me to do? بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. قال الله عز وجل في كتابه المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته. اللهم اعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك اللهم أحسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها وأجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى وصلى الله تعالى على النبي الكريم. قال الله تعالى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة.